Hey guys, welcome back to Three Swords Productions. Got Chad here with us. The other night, Nathan and I did a quick live stream, and during that we recorded some of the games that we played. And Chad and I are going to commentate over that. It was a nice match of Sanji versus Kinnemon.
Yep.
I kind of drew a little bad with the Sanji deck, and Kinnemon really put me through the ringer, taught me why it's tier one. But I still think the game ended up pretty close. So I'm actually really happy to showcase that as a Sanji match.
Yep.
And then going forward, we'll probably do some live streaming at least once a week. It's planned right now to be on Mondays, while we're typically recording games that we commentate over. But there will be surprise days. So if you're out there and you're not already subscribed to the channel and live streaming is something that you're interested in, be sure to subscribe so that you get those notifications. Chad, you ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see this new matchup.
All right, let's do it. And we are just gonna some setup here. We were having a bit more fun than normal, so we were just gonna skip right to the gameplay, and there we go. Okay, so I'm actually on Sanjay. I think I already said that. And on the left,
Yeah.
actually, you can see we've added new face cams, so expect that for gameplay. Though it's not exactly it's not us commentating right now. It is obviously the players playing. So there is
Right.
that.
So I do want to know, as the Sanji player, where do you want to start? Do you still want to just start going second,
Yeah,
keep the
second.
lead
So
in?
I did make some changes to the deck a couple weeks ago in order to kind of benefit myself. If I do have to go first,
Hmm.
then I'm able to turn. I put more three drops in the deck.
Okay.
And so in these earlier hands, if I'm on the play, I'm going to be looking for a hand that contains a three drop and a two drop, so that I
Right.
can stay aggressive on turn two.
Yeah.
Another thing that I like to do is you can when you go to five Don, you can play a four drop and then a three drop.
Right.
So you can actually say, your board is a little snowbally the entire game. You get to
Yeah.
really use your Dawn in a way that no other deck can, which
Yeah,
is
and you
great.
you don't feel nearly as bad as trading off your
No.
lower characters earlier,
Yeah.
because the further into the game you go,
Though just that
the
my
bigger those two cards are going to end up
Yeah,
being every
so
time.
I'm typically hanging out around four characters when I'm doing the thing I want to do.
Hmm.
That way, my board stays really big, and I am looking to trade off the smaller characters. So you will see me get a little bit more aggressive with my two drops than maybe in the past.
Okay. Okay. Now you were playing a pretty heavy package of extra cards. Are we going to see a change there, or
Absolutely not. So we are still playing just a ton of events. Although this game specifically, I did not open with any of them. It was quite a while before I did draw one.
Okay.
Um, and so you're just going to see me play this entire game almost with all vanilla characters.
Okay.
And then there's a really cool moment where Deathwink is the card that I draw, and I'm able to Deathwink and draw two cards. So that's a really fun
Okay.
moment.
It's nice to finally see that kind of come in clutch at one point.
Yeah, I mean, so that was another thing that my first build of Sanji had a lot of these like eight drop kit and seven drop kit, and they're very effective. Like they're so much fun to play with.
Hmm.
But I think they clash really hard with Deathwing.
Yeah.
This is less commentary and more director's cut here,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I think they clash more. They clash a lot more with Deathwing. So you get in those situations where you'll have seven drop kit in your hand, and you'll want to play your Deathwing, but it just doesn't draw any cards.
Yeah.
So you're paying three Don for 6K, which is fine. But it's certainly you're looking at Deathwing and thinking, I want more out of this.
Yeah.
And so I ended up cutting the Deathwings and then keeping the other cards, and I just wanted more events in the deck. So
Hmm.
then I went back and I ended up cutting the seven drops and the eight drop kids,
Okay.
so that I could put in the Deathwings again, and that feels cool. It certainly leans into the more fun side of Sanji rather than trying to be hyper competitive with the deck.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
I do see where on this turn here though you did exactly what you talked about. Played three drop on tap two. Played your two drop. Still maintaining the same pressure even though you couldn't do something when you went first.
yep.
Um,
And so you see Yamato come down and tap the two drop, but because I was able to play Edward Weevil in the same turn, he was basically just playing a Yamato out in order to keep up with me. So
hmm.
I still have a 5K on the board, and that's looking pretty good. I'm going here to 5 Don. Yamato is super clutch against me though, so it's able to not only tap down, just like the Ezo
Yeah.
will be able to do, tap down a character, except it's certainly upgraded from Ezo in that, now for the rest of the game,
You have a 6K coming at your
it's
face,
gonna be
or
able to
you're doomed
pressure
every turn.
everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and we're gonna see me counter out as is a 5K swing. 5K swing on my life. Uh,
No, no, no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Whoops. I
it's your
looked at
turn.
Chad for a moment. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna play another Edward Evil and a Jinbei, and then we are gonna go to four characters and play out Bellamy as well. So this is, gonna be pretty intimidating for the Kinnemon side as they are holding Punk Gibson, but it really taxes their ability to tap my characters down.
Yep.
So now they're gonna be kind of forced to, I can take care of the Edward Evil this turn, of course, but outside of that, I just have to go face, and I'm going to be passing back to my opponent who has a lot of characters on board. They're going to be able to pressure me back.
Hmm.
So this is kind of where I think Sanji's a little bit flexing. I don't have any events in my hand, and all I have are vanillas. But man, I just put three characters onto the table. So
Yeah, and there's like not really anything good that the Kinemon player can really do outside of just attach a bunch of Dawn, which again loses them tempo because they're not establishing anything bigger to the board.
yeah,
You do only have a few cards in hand, so it does make countering out of some attacks real hard. But
yeah.
as we just saw, you're at four characters. You don't really need to keep that fourth
I
character.
don't, and I did actually counter out of that, despite knowing that I would definitely lose it, just because, hey, I want to get as many of your characters sideways as possible, so that
Yep.
I can actually pressure you in return.
Yeah.
I need to be able to do something with my characters, besides just attacking your face. Although I'm a big fan of 5Ks going to the dome every turn.
Hmm.
I think that's a good way to get aggressive.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Yamato's like slow me down such a good amount that it's hard to do that all the time. So he's really contesting my board here easily. And if I had some events to like keep in my hand, in order to like guarantee some kind of safety on the table here, I absolutely think I would just continue to go face. But
Right.
because I don't, I'm gonna be you know I'm gonna have to consider both lines more than I normally would.
Now we'll find out what you do in just a second, but considering that you just see him attack to clear your stuff, attack to pressure life, you get out of it. Then he also goes and plays 5-drop Law into a Bonnie after recycling his Apu that he played on turn one. But now he's tapped out. Do you pressure characters here, or do you try to swing face for as much damage as possible?
Right. So I mean that's what I'm saying is like
You also
you
whiff
you
on the
really
Bonnie.
you really have both lines to consider. Going face is always good. It's gonna like basically let him rebuild. So any specific tool that he's looking for, he's
Hmm.
gonna get a lot of chances to find it. But at the same time, once he goes to zero in the game, it suddenly the tools matter a little bit less, and it's more about like how do I defend myself against all these characters coming across. But
Yeah.
it's tough to go face here because his board is pretty stacked. So at some level here. He's going to take the damage, and then he's going to just kill my board. And once you see all the vanillas in my hand, once they are cleaned up, certainly it's free reign for him, where he can just put out three, maybe a blocker or two, and then I can never really get through.
Right.
And I haven't drawn any events yet in the game. Certainly that feels punishing. I was able to counter out with my characters from my hand, but that of course that comes at a cost too.
Hmm.
And I am able to make these really cool plays with like Edward Evil and a 2-drop, or playing my 4-drop out. But that comes at a cost as well. Later on in the game, those are less 3-drops, those are less 2-drops for me to find. So as I'm top decking, looking for events or whatever,
Right.
or even you're gonna see later in the game where I need one more 3-drop in order to win the game.
And you just don't
I
find
just
it.
don't find it because I had them all at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. It's actually the biggest concern that I have with the current iteration of all of the events in the deck
Hmm.
is that you have such a big split. You kind of create a scenario where you may see one half of the deck but not the other.
Right, and it is 20 events right now.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's a little bit hard to get in these situations where you just don't find even one,
Right.
because often that's all you really need is one well timed one. Love being here,
Hmm.
or three sword style onigiri to really get you that tempo back on the table.
Right.
But yeah, it feels super mid to not have any. That being said, I am certainly holding my own in this matchup. He's going down to two. He's starting to waste cards in his hand to protect his life. He's still holding Punk Gibson, and of course the Ezo in hand is going to tap down a character or two. But yeah, I mean, it's, Sanji's doing it.
Yeah, he's getting there. The biggest concern now
The
though is that
board the board is certainly lost.
yeah, at this point you need to try to push through. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I keep attacking life here. I'd probably start trying to dump Dawn into killing the things that can pressure you back. I mean, yeah, you're gonna lose to the Odin in the long term, but you can slow that process down. And by killing his creatures or his characters, you get to a scenario where it takes him a lot longer, and then he has to invest the Odin into killing your board versus your life, which will maybe get you further into the game.
Right, and the other thing I have to consider too is once he does start attacking my life, I need to have Dawn open for the events that are inevitably in there. Like I feel pretty safe. I feel pretty certain knowing that there probably are events in my life since I haven't seen even
Yes.
one. There's probably one in there, and I did draw. I think this is the Deathwing turn, so we're gonna protect our character there with that. Draw two cards. I believe it was Deathwing and Three Sword Style Onigiri. Not the two that I really wanted to see off of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Love Love or Punk Gibson in there, but
Yeah, those would have absolutely been ideal with only the two Dawn left up.
yeah, I don't think I see any Punk Gibsons for this game. That card is really powerful in this matchup, being
Yeah.
able to, of course, tap down a lot of the characters that he plays. But a second Deathwing we could make use of.
Hmm.
We're just gonna have to clear through basically all the events in our hand, and that is because they were two. Because they were two 3-cost events that came off the top, I was actually not able to protect my board any further. So we are just going to be eating all the attacks to our characters and then taking some hits to the face. And of course, he got to leave open Punk Gibson for this turn, so I'm going to have to decide how to make the attacks here in order to protect the Zoro.
Yep.
Still holding the Ezo in hand as well, so he's pretty ready to tap down everything I play.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like the pressure you've built it just gets lost out
Yeah.
to the value.
Yeah. So
Also, his characters having abilities and yours not. Once they're
Cor-
in play, is
very bad. Yeah, the
yeah,
Yamato, and this is Izo would have not done this in set one. Okiku even not really done
no,
this. This is Yamato.
yeah,
Yamato pressuring so much. Um, but yeah, the moments where like a really good event would have come in clutch
hmm,
past
yeah,
in the game. Certainly, I try to hold open Three Swords style onigiri for basically to the 3-quarter mark, so that I can start putting characters out into play that
hmm,
my opponent wasn't calculating for. That opportunity window closed
yeah,
pretty quickly, of course, when the Odin comes down. So we are just going to try and piece together any win we can get here.
yeah. There were definitely two turns
Yep.
before the Odin happened where had you just had 1/2 cost,
Yep.
it would have made a massive difference. You would have had way more pressure.
Yep. Of course, the blocker law also standing in the way quite a bit.
Yeah,
But now we are holding overheat, so we have picked up a 2-cost event, and I believe killer is in hand as well. I've been really liking the killer edition.
yeah. Did you stick to the two of, or did you go all
I
the way up?
believe it's 1 right now.
Okay,
Still just
still just
playing
one.
1 in the deck.
I definitely liked seeing it more than the one time when I was playing it.
Hmm.
Um, or just seeing it more consistently in my games. You
Yeah.
only ever need one, but
Yeah.
having two does increase the chance that in the top 25 cards of your deck, you're going to at least see the one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's part of the game plan permanently or not. So I'm kind of just
Yeah.
feeling like, hey, if I draw it in a weird situation, like how does it feel?
Hmm.
And that's why I've kind of left it at 1. How am I gonna feel when this is like I draw this killer instead of the event that I wanted to draw?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, my deck is actually not very susceptible to Vista. So I feel like my opponents are probably either countering out with their Vista or they're going to just hold it in hand. And as soon as I play a killer, they go, I've been waiting for this moment and slap
Right.
it down. So I really don't want too many of that. Certainly 2 killer in the deck seems just fine.
Yeah.
But I really haven't had a chance to test the deck enough to get to tweak any numbers since my last change.
That's
So.
fair. Because you're not wrong in the fact that killer and low cost blockers as a whole,
Mhm.
if you only run like a very small amount of those are going to feel a lot worse in matchups against green and red simply because they're going to have a ton of tools to remove them. But you're playing nothing but big vanillas the whole game, so they're not going to have nearly as many opportunities to use those cards. So when you finally do play a killer, it's most likely going to be immediately removed or dealt with in some fashion.
So we do draw a card here, and we're gonna need a 3-sword style onigiri and put in a 2-drop if we want to see any kind of play here.
Yeah.
But we need to save that for the Odin swings also, so it's a little bit rough.
Yeah, we're definitely in an awkward scenario as
Yeah.
the Sanji player.
So we need to get out of this attack here while leaving open an event for one of the Odin swings because we're in a situation where the Odin can actually knock me out twice without enough Dawn in order to protect.
Yep.
So I'm taking a very risky line here that forces my opponent to hopefully just go all in.
Hmm.
I'm going to counter out with the two cards that I could put into play with Onigiri.
Yep.
Very risky.
Yes.
What I'm hoping to see is that the last life
Is a 3 or a 2.
is a 3 or a 2 that I can put into play and untap 2 Dawn to still play my overheat. The
Yeah.
overheat would then bounce the Capone back to his hand, and I would be open the floodgates here for me to get in for lethal.
Right.
So unfortunately, we do have to kind of just bank on that at this point, given the low amount of Dawn that I have available.
It is also great just because we want him to attack life, so that way you can for sure take that first attack.
Yeah.
And then it forces the question is like, well, do I just try to clear that tap Zoro?
Yeah, because I feel like if I
Um,
get out of the first attack, then he just says, "Okay, great, you
right, you
got out
just
of
lose to
this.
Zoro
Uh,
because he can't win anymore.
right. You just you the second attack goes for my Zoro, right? Not
Yeah.
and he just leaves me at 1.
Right.
It's kind of now or nothing.
Hmm.
But I do still feel like the game came down to this life here. And it is unfortunately it's 3 sword style onigiri, which the event trigger on that says tap a 5-drop or less, um,
Or the leader.
or the leader. You could also tap the leader.
Well, you could tap the
Um,
Capone here. Yeah, which you
So
did.
we do tap the Capone just because, but unfortunately it's not enough. It needed to be a character so that I could 3 sword style out of this attack.
Right. But you still can.
No, actually he's gonna put more. He's gonna put the rest of his Dawn on this, and suddenly it is bigger than
Oh, now it's bigger than
it.
the.
So it went to 12k here, and he's gonna put uh, what is that? 2 more Dawn on it, make it a 14k.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would need, basically, I would need 3 sword style onigiri,
Into dude.
plus
Into
3 sword style. Plus, I would need 2 3 cost events to just straight up get out of it.
No.
There are a couple of other options for sure. I could, I could 3 cost event into love into get out
No,
of it.
because the 3 is the
Oh,
6.
11, and then that goes to 15.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just need,
You just needed the. You just
I
needed
just
the
need
character.
the character. Yeah, very true. And I'm just explaining that line.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, a little bit, a little bit like bad. I certainly I lost the board, but that's actually the power of I think 3 sword style is like he literally went all in on the Odin, and if that had
If that had
really
failed.
if that had been what like 25% of my deck
Hmm.
as that last life, like
You probably won that
I
game.
would have won that game. So it's kind of wild, but the events, especially the 3 cost events, are just so powerful in their own.
Yeah.
And then if at any point we flip over Punk Gibson out of the life,
Oh, yeah.
certainly we have some really powerful event triggers
Yeah.
there. But and Nathan played the Kinnemon deck like super well. Like he's really been grinding that deck a lot.
Yep.
So I'm happy to see him on that side.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the video, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting subscribe. If you missed Arlington Regional, the entire backlog of the tournament is on the YouTube channel. It's an exciting, so many rounds of gameplay. That was a very long weekend.
Yes.
As I said earlier, we are doing the live streams on Monday. And outside of that, we have daily videos being uploaded. So if you're new to the channel and you really just want more One Piece content, you have come to the right place. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.